Lake Natron looks otherworldly, bright, orange, and steaming in the African sun. But it is more than a strange landscape. Here, chemistry can preserve the dead. Some animals that touch its waters are slowly turned into calcified casts, natural mummies shaped by mineral and fire-like heat. Natron sits in a closed volcanic basin in northern Tanzania, near the East African Rift. Volcanic minerals wash into the lake, and under fierce heat the water evaporates. Without an outlet, salts accumulate, concentrating alkaline carbonates and raising the lake's pH to extreme levels. The lake's deadly nature begins with its unique geology. It contains vast amounts of sodium carbonate and other salts, a chemical cocktail brewed over millennia. The primary source of these minerals is the nearby volcano, Old Doño Lengai, the only active volcano on Earth that erupts natural carbonatite lava. This unique lava is exceptionally rich in rare sodium and potassium carbonates. When seasonal rains fall, they dissolve these minerals from the volcanic soil and ash, washing them down into the lake. Because Lake Natron sits in an endorheic basin, a basin with no outlet to the sea, these dissolved salts have nowhere to go. For thousands of years they have accumulated, creating a hypersaline solution unlike almost any other on the planet. The water is so saturated with minerals like trona, a naturally occurring mixture of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate, that in the dry season, the lake's surface can crystallize into a solid sheet of salt. This concentration of sodium carbonate dramatically affects the lake's chemistry, specifically its pH. The pH scale, running from 0 to 14, is a measure of acidity or alkalinity. A pH of 7 is neutral, like pure water. Anything below 7 is acidic, like lemon juice at a pH of 2. Anything above 7 is alkaline. Lake Natron's water is intensely alkaline, with pH values that can reach between 10 and 10.5. To put that into perspective, it's nearly as alkaline as a household ammonia solution and corrosive enough to burn the skin and eyes of most animals. This extreme alkalinity is the first key to the lake's mysterious preservative power. The primary mineral natron has a long and storied history with preservation. The ancient Egyptians, masters of mummification, harvested this very substance from dried lake beds in the Wadi el Natron. They understood its powerful desiccating properties, packing bodies in the salt for 40 days to draw out all moisture and halt the process of decay. The chemistry at work in Lake Natron is a natural, far more aggressive version of this ancient embalming technique. For any animal unfortunate enough to perish in these waters, a bizarre transformation begins. At these extreme pH levels, the soft tissues undergo a chemical reaction known as saponification. This is the same fundamental process used to make soap, where an alkali reacts with fats. The lake's caustic water essentially turns the subcutaneous fat of the carcass into a hard, soap-like compound. This process prevents the normal bacterial decay that would otherwise break down the body, perfectly preserving its external form in a state of suspended animation. While saponification preserves the body's shape, the second stage of the process begins. Mineral deposition becomes rapid. The water is supersaturated with dissolved salts, particularly calcium carbonate. As the preserved body rests in the water, these minerals begin to precipitate or fall out of the solution, clinging to the tissues. Layer by layer, a dense mineral shell builds up around the animal, much like creating a plaster cast. This process of calcification is what turns the once living creature into a hauntingly detailed stone statue. The final step is driven by the relentless African sun. The intense heat causes water to evaporate at an astonishing rate, further concentrating the salts. As the water level drops, this supersaturated solution becomes unstable. Evaporation then locks those minerals into hard, razor-sharp crusts that cover both the lake bed and the calcified remains. This final stage cements the animals in their stone-like state, creating the eerie, petrified sculptures that make Lake Natron a macabre natural museum. The journey into stone begins with a final, fatal misstep. When an animal perishes in or near Lake Natron's caustic waters, it is not reclaimed by the familiar cycle of decay. Instead, it embarks on a different, more unsettling path. The water itself, shimmering and deceptively placid, is the agent of transformation. It's a highly alkaline chemical bath, a supersaturated solution of minerals leached from the surrounding volcanic highlands. The primary component is sodium carbonate, blended with sodium bicarbonate. This mixture creates an environment with a pH level soaring above 10, nearly as alkaline as ammonia. For most life, contact is lethal, but for the dead, this chemical cocktail is the ultimate preservative. This potent blend of salts is known as natron, and its remarkable properties have been recognized for millennia. In fact, the lake is named for it. The very same substance was harvested by the ancient Egyptians from dry lake beds along the Nile. They revered natron for its profound desiccating abilities, making it the essential ingredient in their sacred ritual of mummification, drawing out moisture and halting the decomposition of their pharaohs. Here at Lake Natron, that same ancient process unfolds not by human hand, but by the inexorable power of nature itself. The transformation is driven by the relentless equatorial sun. As the fierce heat beats down, the shallow water evaporates at a staggering rate. This forces the dissolved minerals out of the solution, which becomes supersaturated. The water is now primed to release its mineral burden. All it needs is a nucleus, a feather, a scale, a strand of fur. The instant the carcass provides this surface, a chain reaction begins. Over mere hours and days, salts crystallize directly onto the skin, forming a delicate shimmering crust. While this external shell forms, an equally crucial process occurs within. The extreme alkalinity of the water seeps into the tissues and begins to saponify the body's fats, turning them into a hard, waxy, soap-like substance known as adipocere. This internal preservation effectively halts bacterial decay from the inside out. The creature is simultaneously being encased in a mineral tomb and embalmed by the very water that claimed its life, a perfect two-pronged defense against decomposition. As evaporation continues, that crust thickens and hardens into a solid cast of sodium carbonate. The process is so rapid and so precise that it preserves the creature's exact shape at the moment of its death. Feathers retain their structure, skin keeps its texture, and limbs are frozen in their final posture. The result is not a skeleton, but a complete, perfectly detailed effigy, a ghostly white statue of the animal it once was, entombed within its mineral sarcophagus. It is crucial to understand that this is a natural form of mummification, not fossilization. Fossilization is a geological process of replacement where minerals slowly seep into organic remains over millions of years, turning them to rock. This, by contrast, is a chemical process of encasement. It is incredibly fast, taking only days or weeks. These are not ancient fossils, but recent macabre sculptures created by the lake's unique chemistry. They are mineral mummies, ephemeral monuments on the shoreline of one of the world's most inhospitable and strangely creative bodies of water. In this realm of chemical extremes, where the water can burn skin and few creatures dare to tread, an astonishing paradox unfolds. Despite the hostility, life persists, and not just persists, it flourishes in the most spectacular fashion. The architects of this miracle are the lesser flamingos. Each year they descend upon Lake Natron not in thousands but in millions, transforming the deadly landscape into the single most important breeding site for their species on Earth. They are drawn here by a powerful primal promise, the promise of sanctuary. The very caustic nature of the lake, so lethal to others, becomes a fortress wall, creating a haven free from the predators that would otherwise threaten their vulnerable young. It is a calculated risk, a journey into a chemical inferno for the sake of the next generation. Their survival hinges on what lies within the water itself. The lake's startling crimson and orange hues are not just mineral stains, they are the vibrant signs of life. This is the domain of extremophiles, microscopic organisms that thrive in conditions that would kill almost anything else. Chief among them are salt-loving cyanobacteria, particularly a species called Arthrospira fusiformis, a type of spirulina. These tiny powerhouses are the lake's primary producers, converting harsh sunlight into energy and forming a thick, nutritious soup. This microscopic bounty is the flamingo's sole source of food. To harvest it, they employ one of nature's most ingenious filtration systems. With its head upside down, the flamingo uses its large, piston-like tongue to pump the alkaline water through fine, comb-like structures in its beak called lamellae, sieving out the precious cyanobacteria while expelling the toxic liquid. It is this diet, rich in pigments called carotenoids, that gradually bestows upon the birds their iconic pink and crimson plumage. They are quite literally what they eat. But feeding is only half the battle. Simply standing in this water requires extraordinary physiological tolerance. The flamingo's long, spindly legs are covered in incredibly tough, leathery skin, providing a crucial barrier against chemical burns from the highly alkaline brine. Even more remarkable is their ability to drink the lake's water. Like many seabirds, they possess specialized salt glands located in a groove above their eyes. These glands act as a biological desalination plant, filtering excess salt from their bloodstream. The highly concentrated salt solution is then excreted as a brine that drips from the tip of their beak, allowing them to stay hydrated in an environment where fresh water is almost non-existent. These adaptations culminate in the ultimate purpose of their pilgrimage: breeding. On the temporary salt islands that emerge as the water evaporates, the flamingos construct thousands of volcano-shaped mud mounds. Each mound elevates a single precious egg just high enough to protect it from the corrosive water and the fluctuating lake levels. Here, shielded from the outside world by a moat of liquid fire, the next generation begins. Once hatched, the fluffy gray chicks are gathered into massive groups called creches, watched over by a few adults while their parents forage for food. In this unlikely nursery, they will grow, safe and secure, until they are strong enough to join the flock. The flamingo has not just learned to survive in a deadly place, it has mastered it, turning a chemical wasteland into a thriving, vibrant cradle of life for millions of birds. Researchers study Natron's microbes as models for extremophiles, organisms that survive where life seems impossible. These microbes help biologists understand life's limits, inform astrobiology searches, and may inspire industrial enzymes or preservation technologies. Natron is part of a living landscape. Local communities, tourism, and conservation intersect here. The lake's chemistry can be corrosive and dangerous to people and equipment. Scientists and conservationists warn against disturbing the site and stress that preserving the ecosystem must balance research and tourism. Lake Natron is a place where geology, chemistry, and life collide, a reminder that nature can be both brutal and beautiful. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more wild science documentaries and explore our playlist on Earth's strangest places.